All right, let's talk color formulation. When you picture a real master at work, what do you see? Probably someone mixing deep, rich blacks or maybe some vibrant reds, right? But in the industry, the true test of skill, it's not the dark shades, it's the whites and pastels. They look so simple, but getting them right is incredibly tough. And today, we're going to find out why.
There's this great saying that just nails the problem. Whatever gets hidden in a dark shade is completely exposed in a white one. Just think about that for a second. Dark colors are forgiving, They can hide little imperfections in your material or your process. But white? Oh, white is like a spotlight. It shows every single flaw.
So that brings us right to our first topic. Why is white so darn deceptive? Well, the heart of the problem is that making something white isn't just about adding white pigment. Not at all. It's this delicate dance with the base material itself, and that's exactly where things get complicated.
So what are the red flags? What does it actually look like when a white shade goes bad? I bet you've seen it before. A white that just doesn't look quite right. It's not just one thing, but there are a few common ways it fails that the pros learn to spot in an instant.
This little table here is like a perfect diagnostic chart. If your white is coming out yellowish, the usual suspect is the natural color of your polymer. Or maybe you're running the process too hot. Seeing a grayish tint, that's pointing to either contamination or you're using a dull grade of titanium. And that flat, chalky look, that's a classic sign you've just gone overboard and overdosed the white pigment.
And here's the most important takeaway. The fix is almost never to just dump in more white pigment. That's the amateur move. The real secret, the way the pros do it, is all about achieving a very precise balance between everything in the mix.
And that balance we're talking about? It starts with the most critical ingredient of all. So let's get into the titanium dioxide factor. You gotta think of it like the foundation of a house. If you pick the wrong one, the whole structure is gonna be weak. It doesn't matter what else you do.
So right here you can see the big choice you have to make. Over on the left, we have rutile titanium dioxide. This is the industry standard for a reason. It's got great opacity, gives you a clean white finish, and it holds up outdoors. Then on the right, you've got anatase. It can look bright, sure, but it's super sensitive to heat, which makes it a really risky bet if you want consistent results. So for pros, yeah, rutile is pretty much always the way to go.
But listen, choosing the right foundation is only step one. If you want that truly premium, crisp white, there's a little secret weapon that separates the real experts from everybody else. It's a tiny additive that honestly changes the whole game.
And that secret weapon is a blue or violet toner. Now its job is to neutralize that slight yellowish tint that's just naturally there in most polymers. It works exactly like those whitening agents for laundry, It basically tricks our eyes into seeing a much cleaner, fresher, and brilliant white.
But here is the catch, and trust me, it's a big one. The dosage is incredibly sensitive. We're talking parts per million, that's ppm. If you add even a tiny fraction too much, your perfect white will suddenly have a bluish tint, and that's a mistake your customer is going to spot from a mile away. Precision here is everything.
Okay, so this brings us to the next level of skill, mastering pastel shades. Look, if white is difficult, pastels require an even crazier level of precision. Why? Because they're built on a whole lot of white with just a tiny speck of color. So all the rules we just went over, they still apply, but now the stakes are even higher.
To get those vibrant, stable pastels, the pros stick to a few golden rules. First, your color pigments have to be strong and clean. You also want to use as few different pigments as you can get away with. That keeps the formula simple and stable. And critically, you have to pick the right undertone for your pigment. The bottom line is really simple. A weak pigment will always give you a dull, lifeless pastel shade.
So what do you do when a batch is just slightly off? This is the professional's playbook for fixing it. If the shade looks dull, you can either nudge up your strong color pigment just a bit, or you can slightly reduce the white. If it's too dark, you do the exact opposite. Increase the white, reduce the color. And if the hue itself is off, that's when you make those tiny micro corrections with your undertone pigments. It really is a game of millimeters.
Knowing what is important, for sure, but knowing what not to do, that can save you a ton of time, money, and a whole lot of headaches. We're not just talking about little errors here. These are costly mistakes that can completely ruin entire batches of your product. So let's run through the absolute don'ts. Never, ever use cheap, low-quality titanium dioxide. It's just a recipe for never ignore the polymer's natural color, because remember, white shows everything. Don't create a complicated cocktail of pigments. That just makes things unstable. Definitely don't overdose that secret weapon, the blue toner. And finally, never ignore changes in your processing heat.
Any one of these will absolutely destroy your consistency.
The final word on all these mistakes is,
And it's
direct. With these, white and pastel shades will never be stable. It's not a maybe, it is a flat-out guarantee of failure. Avoiding this list is just fundamental if you want to get consistent, high-quality results.
So after all of that, let's just boil it all down into a few key takeaways. These are really the secrets you can use to nail those perfect whites and pastels every single time.
Okay, let's lock in the key lessons from this masterclass. Number 1, success with white shades is all about balance, not brute force. 2, Rutile titanium dioxide is your best and most reliable foundation. 3, that blue or violet toner, that's your secret weapon for getting that super clean, crisp look. 4, pastels, strong and simple pigments are your best friends. And finally, precision in everything you do is what separates the pros from everyone else. You've just learned the logic behind what are probably the industry's most difficult shades to get right. From this point on, the light shades don't control you, you control them. So the only question left is this. Now that you've mastered the light, are you ready to master the dark?
Day 8. What we learn: white set logic, TiO₂ control, blue and violet toner, pastel shade, common mistake. Day 9. Upcoming: carbon black undertone, depth control, solution for dead black problem. Like and subscribe. Thank you.